Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Joe Malkin, sitting down with men's soccer head coach Greg Perry and former Buccaneer Musa Pam for the reunion weekend and homecoming weekend for 2020. And gentlemen, it's good to have you here. I'm glad you both could make it today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
So, Coach Perry, 28 years. This would be your 28th year as the head men's soccer coach here at Massachusetts Maritime Academy, which people wouldn't believe it if we told them you started as the head coach here at, what were you, 24 years old?
25.
25 years old. All right, perfect. So what brought you to Mass Maritime? I talked to Coach Karate earlier about that, and he said it was a matter of trust, but what brought you here?
A guy by the name of Peter Kasajan, who was the former head coach here back in the early 80s, came up to me. We were playing in a high school game. I was coaching at Bridgewater Rainham as an assistant coach, and he said, I have a great opportunity for you to come down to Mass Maritime. And he actually had recruited me to play here, took me on a tour. I actually had met Coach Karate because I played soccer and baseball at Bridgewater Rainham, so I had the opportunity to meet Coach C way back. He didn't remember my name, obviously, but
That's why his nickname
came down and like he, Peter said, you know, this could definitely work out. I think this is the guy for you. Met with Coach C, and he's, you know, basically said, stay here for 4 years, and shook my hand, and been here for 28. So it's been a great ride. Great ride.
And you're still here. And Musa, you were a sophomore when Coach Perry took over the Buccaneer men's soccer program. And what were your first impressions of 25-year-old Greg Perry as you walked on for the first time?
They were very high impressions. It just happened that we weren't that many years different in age. And in '93, I was 21 or 22 at the time, and he really came really highly recommended, and obviously he had the endorsement of Coach C, who spoke very highly of him and encouraged us to give him every bit of energy and strength and passion that we would give any other head coach. So he fit right in, and he commanded our respect.
It's kind of the MO of Coach Karate, isn't it? Coach Perry, he lets everybody know this is what I expect out of you, and he's like that with student athletes. He's like that with coaches, and he was like that with me. And I've never directly worked for him. What can you say about that approach towards Buccaneer athletics?
He taught me the best way was it's all about the kids. That's why I have such a good rapport with these guys. So it was all about the kids. Do everything you can for the kids, about the school. It wasn't about wins and losses. It was about being competitive, and hopefully we'd get over that hump and break into more than just an average season. So it paid off in the long run. It really did.
Yeah, and Musa, you played for Coach Perry for 3 years, and but you've still been around Coach Perry in this program for so long as a contributor, a donor, and what are your opinions on Mass Maritime athletics as a whole, but also the men's soccer program over the last 25 years?
Yeah, I mean, it really starts from the top with his leadership. I think one of the things that you find out as a player for Coach Perry is that he will treat you with the utmost respect, and he commands and demands excellence from you, but he asks each and every one of his athletes to treat each other as brothers and sisters. We did have some female soccer players as well, so we were one family back then. We continue to be one family to this day.
And that's an interesting point that you bring up, Musa. When you started here, and for the first 15 years you were the head men's soccer coach, there was no women's soccer program until 2008. What was that like? I mean, did you have women that were interested in playing, and how did that go?
We had a couple women each year try out. A couple of them were actually pretty good. Physically, they just really couldn't handle it. So unfortunately, we had to cut them. We cut them just like everybody else. I cut people face to face. I don't put a list on the wall. So we talked to the kids that were cutting. Musa actually coached with me 1 year, and it's a tough thing to do. Cutting a kid is one of the toughest things to do face to face. And I think it's the right way. Everybody's a man or woman at this time in their life. So I bring them out onto the field and talk to them and say, sorry, it's not going to happen at this time. You need to get a little stronger. Like Musa was saying, we had Melinda Flynn, who was one of our goalies back in the day. She was also a softball player as well for us. But she was a goalie, and she was really good. Really good. Technique-wise, she had it all. Again, not so strong with our hands, but she did play for us and enjoyed it, and we treated it just like we treated, anybody else. So.
And we talk about the women that did play for you or tried out, and then in 2008 the women's soccer program started here, and they've had a pretty good history. Some good players that have played there. We had Madison Taylor, who I almost said retired, but graduated. She did retire because I don't think she's playing right now. But she graduated a few years ago as the all-time women's goal scorer with 41 goals. And what was it like when the women's program started around here, and what hand may you have had in that? Because I know you and Coach Roz are very big on being a part of that program.
Yeah, Christine McCary started the program here. She was the first coach, and she came and asked for some advice. And like I said, we tried to tell her, it's all about the girls. Do it for the girls. Do whatever you can to keep them, because kind of wishy-washy sometimes the first year. You never know what's going to happen with the program. So we just try to tell her, do everything you can to keep the girls together and keep them as one and make it as much of a team thing as possible. So that rapport is huge.
You mentioned cutting players. You did it face-to-face. And one of the big things that comes with cutting players is retention as a student or as a cadet in this case. You and head coach Jeremy Cameron of the football team are pretty well known for that. When players either leave the team or they're cut, they stay around and they stay at Mass Maritime. Would you attribute that to recruiting style, bringing in those types of people rather than those types of athletes, or is that something that you stay involved in as the kids progress?
No, I try to stay involved with my guys, even if I cut them, if they're a sophomore or a junior. Try to make sure they're on top of their studies. I check on all my kids with their grades, things like that, whether they were, past, form, or whatever, it doesn't matter. So that, I don't know what Coach Cameron does, but that's my style. I don't want to lose touch with a kid. Coach Karate was a little different. If someone didn't play for 4 years and they're not considered an alumni for baseball, but if somebody plays for 1 year, we try to, keep them as part of our alumni. Musa has a spreadsheet actually with all our alumni guys. He does most of that contact for me, so chasing down money and things like that and getting them involved in the golf tournament. So I lean on him a little bit for my help, but we try to keep everybody, together. They're all part of the family once they step, through the door. So
that's a good transition there. We've seen some of the shirts that you've made in the past for the alumni, and they're very loud, and which is your style, which is good, right? Yeah,
exactly.
They're very loud,
Yes.
But that's a good thing. We like that around here. What's it been like to stay in touch with all the alumni over these years and be that contact person for such a storied program?
It's been a thrill, really. They say you can't choose your family. So in a sense, we all came here as a choice, and so we chose this family. And this family has been together, as one. Once again, going back to the fact that it starts at the top, the leadership. Many of us consider him like a parent to us. And he tells me he loves me every day we talk, and he says he loves me like a brother, but it's more like a father. Because he's built that into us, that we need to kind of stay together as a family, and so anything that we can do to keep the family connected, we try to do, whether it's via informal events like get-togethers in the spring and the winter in pre-COVID times, I might add, but also including formal events like the golf tournament that you mentioned, which is a fundraiser for the program. People just typically just want to know when to show up and where to show up, and that's indicative of what they feel about the family.
Yeah, and we've seen so many players that have come back for games, and I've seen you talking to former players when they come in and they come in and sit in the stands and watch your guys play, win, lose, or draw. There always seems to be someone there that played for you at one point, and that's kind of where I want to go. Is kind of like what's been some of your favorite moments? Start with on the field in the last 28 years.
On the field, I'd have to say beating my alma mater up at their place up at Westfield, probably one of the biggest highlights of my career. So that and beating Coast Guard, obviously, but beating my alma mater was definitely special.
It's always a little bit more special.
Yeah.
When you're able to do that. Yeah, I have the same feeling when Mike goes out and beats Dean College, but we were a junior college when I played there anyway. So, and what about off the field? I mean, you're so involved, and I don't want to answer the question for you, but you're so involved with everything that you do, whether it's in the athletic building or somewhere else on campus. You've held so many positions. What have been some of your best memories off the field?
Just the contact with the kids, I started off as a facilities recreational director, so I was in the weight room constantly around the gymnasium. I also taught phys ed here for 6 years, so I really got to know everybody, and that's how I got to know Mike Kelly when I started teaching phys ed when he was a freshman. So that was important to me, that was special. And then moving over into, obviously I was in athletics for 25 years in that building. And then I moved over to camps and conferences and lost a little bit of the touch with the kids, which hurt me a little bit. And now I'm the head ground supervisor, so at least I get to see the kids a little bit more outside the office, which would be nice.
And the campus looks great.
Hey, thanks.
It really
We're
does.
getting there. We're getting there.
Yeah, one step at a time, right? And you mentioned, I talked to Coach Karate and Coach Kelly a little while ago, and it mentioned that you had coached Mike Kelly when he was here. You've been an assistant baseball coach for just about as long as you've been the head men's soccer coach. So, what was it like to coach Coach Kelly?
He was very quiet. He's still very quiet.
Yep.
But he's a talented young man. Like, he was phenomenal. He showed up game day ready all the time. So he's special. He's a very special athlete.
It's kind of how he treats it now too. Shows up game ready every time
ready
he walks
all
into the
time.
building.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what we got going on that day. He's always game ready.
Yeah, and he's a heck of a basketball player. So don't let him fool you.
Well, that's what they say anyway. I know one guy that can guard him, but that's besides the point. He'll tell you differently. He is very physical on the basketball court. But so during that time, we mentioned baseball, and you were an assistant coach for Coach Karate, assistant coach for Mike Kelly. What's it like been coaching baseball here? I mean, between football, baseball, men's soccer, I know you didn't necessarily, but I mean like storied programs here. You're also with the baseball program. What's that been like?
It's been great. And again, Coach C's taught me so much. He's just, leader by example, and that's, the person I want to be, want to lead these young men. We tell them it's not about the wins and losses. It's more about life skills, and hopefully I've taught these guys some life skills over the few years that I've been here. Not like Coach C's 44, but it's been awesome. It really has.
And Musa, having played for Coach Perry and been around the program for so long, what is something you would share with Buccaneer student athletes, past, present, future, that they should know about this place, whether they attended or they're going to or are here now? What's something that you would share with them?
So I think that it starts with Alumni Gym, the messages that you see there. And as I remember that as a freshman, one of the ones that stuck with me the most, and to this day it does, for the several meanings and connotations that it has, is MMA, a tradition of pride. You're not going to be a student athlete at MMA and not be proud of the program, or proud of your relationships with your shipmates and with your professors and your coaches and fellow athletes, and even the athletes that you play against. So that pride carries along with you throughout life, and it also gives you the opportunity to have a network that you otherwise wouldn't have if you hadn't attended a college like Masters Maritime Academy. We have several tangibles and intangibles associated with Masters Maritime Academy. Some of the intangibles you can't count. You can't measure the level of togetherness or the level of engagement between fellow athletes or fellow teammates. But some of the tangibles are obviously the life lessons that you take away from Mass Maritime, the inarguable numbers that you see relative to very important benchmarks like return on investment for your college education, and the fact that you see Mass Maritime Academy ranked way up there with the Harvard Universities, the MITs of the world, and it's not a coincidence. That is the special mission of the academy. That's the special characteristic that you take with you out of here. And this gentleman here, Coach Perry, does everything in his power, and we see it each and every day in his interactions with his student athletes to make sure that they do get to that point where they can walk out of here with that 4-year college degree, however long it takes. The retired Admiral Gurnon used to joke about the 4, 5, 6, 7-year plans, whatever they were. However long it took, no one's going to ask you at a job interview how long it took you to get your college degree. The fact that you've earned the degree, you've acquired the skills and the knowledge and the experience, and you have the pedigree that comes with knowing that you're a Massachusetts Maritime Academy graduate. Moreover, on top of that, you add the fact that you were a student athlete, one who represented the institution, wore the institution's colors in, I'd say, battle with a small b against contemporaries around the conference and all other parts of the country as well.
And going to that conversation about tangibles and intangibles, Coach Perry, over time, things have changed since the early '90s, and they've changed so much even in the last 5 years. And every student athlete is different. Every cadet is different. But over the years, what are some things that you've looked for in student athletes to bring to Mass Maritime and just to get them to come play for you?
They have to want to be here. It's a special place. It's unique. And if they don't want to, deal with what I call the other side, the regimental part, then it's a waste of time to even come and play a sport. So, they have to want to, that interest first, and then you chase them, from there on. And it's getting a little bit easier, with some of the recruiting techniques,
Sure.
So, between texting and email and everything else that's out there now, it's a little bit easy to, stay in contact with a young man that's interested in Mass Maritime. But again, they have to want to, come to school here first and then play, the sport second.
And I know you keep in touch with your former players and your current players, whether it's unfortunately during a season that we won't be able to play, but what would something be that you would want to share with your alumni and your current players that would be watching this?
Just, stay safe out there. It's a tough time of year, and hopefully we're going to get through it, and hopefully we're going to be able to have an alumni game sometime in the near future, maybe in the springtime. But that's the phone call I'm getting now is, what are we doing about alumni games? So a lot of phone calls and a lot of emails.
Any kind of soccer we can get out there would be great at this point. Just any kind of competition would be awesome through this whole thing. So, well, is there anything you guys would like to add? I mean, this is for alumni weekend, reunion weekend, and I think it's a special time. I mean, you and I, while we're 26 years apart in the time that we came to Mass Maritime, we weren't Buccaneers in the sense that we were student athletes at Mass Maritime, but I have to share your love of this place. And once you've been here for a long time, it's hard to let go, and it's easy to become, as you said, it's easy to put the colors on and have a lot of pride in those colors. It definitely is. So is there anything else you guys would like to add?
He knows that I won't have nothing to say.
I know, that's why you looked at you. I should have just gone right to Musa here, huh?
So homecoming is a very special time, and it's bittersweet for me because especially because this would have been my 25th year anniversary of graduating, and as a co-chair of our reunion committee, I've had to field questions from fellow Buccaneers and fellow alum about what's going on with reunion. Thankfully, the advancement office with Michelle and the great staff that they have there have come up with a program that works virtually that will give all participants some semblance of the connectedness that we need to have at homecoming. So I'd say for those who are current alumni and for prospective alumni, if they have the opportunity to even tune into those events, they'll sort of see the kind of togetherness that we share amongst one another. The only other thing I would share is that, especially in these times that we live in, as a person of color, as a student of color here at Mass Maritime, I think in my class we probably had 4 students of color, and I think I was the only graduate of my class that was a person of color. He doesn't see color. He sees human beings. human beings who participate in the program, who give it their all, who will not necessarily be lauded if they don't put in the effort. As far as he's concerned, he's more concerned about what skills you have, in your head and what you can do with your foot and occasionally your hands, legally or illegally on the field. But that's what it's all about. I think we have to be able to be colorblind in that respect and give back as much as possible. So any alumni who might be seeing this, thinking about how they can help and how they can give back to the institution, I think we all have an obligation to pay it forward. I didn't really know much about that phrase until I think the movie came out, Pay It Forward. But it's very important. Every single aspect of our lives, we have occasions where people have touched us in a special way, have led us in a special way, and have demanded of us to use their example to turn to the next generation, to give them everything and anything that we can. So in terms of what I would call time, treasure, and talent, those are the three most common attributes that we can give back. Our treasure is obviously the contributions that you talk about, but the time to volunteer, and then the talent, if we have an opportunity to teach, guest lecture, things like that I've had the opportunity to do, we should definitely do everything that we can to give back, because the institution has given us quite a lot.
It's what we kind of preach around here, whether it's in athletics or anywhere on campuses, any way you can help out. We all kind of step up and do what we need to do in order to keep the ship moving in the same direction, pun intended.
And philanthropy is very important too. Coach helped organize the several philanthropic endeavors where the students give back. Team Thomas is one that stands out, very, very brightly there, and just the opportunity to work with that family and to learn more and have the student athletes, the soccer players, just really engaged in spreading the word and raising awareness for Mito. It's huge.
Yeah, and that's one thing we should touch on before we wrap up is Thomas Schmidt and his family. And Coach Perry, he came to you, it's been, almost 7 years now?
7 years.
That Thomas Schmidt came to be a part of the Mass Maritime Buccaneer men's soccer program. And I've had an opportunity to meet his family and him, go to one of the golf tournaments that they hosted last year. And tell us a little bit about the Schmidt family and why it's so important to have a family like that around you.
So Thomas has mitochondrial disease. So he has really the mitochondrial attacking his muscle system. So he's very lethargic all the time. Has to be carried most of the time wherever he goes. He has a wheelchair automatic wheelchair that he goes around in at school. But Thomas's dad actually went to school here. I taught him when he was a freshman, played with Mike Kelly, who's a football player for us. And this opportunity came up for him to be part of Team Impact, and we jumped right on it. And, signed him on. He signed his letter of intent to come to Mass Maritime. And he's just a special kid. He's funny, he's bright. Like I said, but he's very lethargic. We, had him out with Musa playing during the alumni game and had him pass and
we have it on video.
Yes,
which is just awesome. The whole family is awesome. He's one of 4 kids, and his brothers and sisters try to take good care of him. He's the oldest of the 4. But we go to Boston every year and run in the Mito race, which is usually in September. This year it's virtual, so that's a little different for us. But every one of my kids pays to run in it, which is nice, and helps fundraise the money. We don't all race, but most of the kids do. It's usually the day after one of our games, so most of our guys are pretty beat up, and they help out with some of the other kids doing some of the games, arts, crafts, handing out sandwiches, whatever they can do to help out up at the event. But it's a nice touch. It really is, and it's an eye-opening experience. Let me tell you. And every year we go back, half the kids are there, half of them have probably passed away due to the disease, which is unbelievably sad. Thomas, at one point, they didn't know how long he was going to have for, expected life. And this year here, he's going to be a freshman in high school, so that's pretty impressive.
It is impressive.
Scary, actually. But,
yeah.
It's
I was going to say he's one of the best trash talkers in the States.
Very impressive. So, but he's a lot of fun to have around. Like I said, it's an eye-opening experience to, how healthy we are. It's, our health is so important, and trying to, help with him and his family and get their, support him is big, very big.
And it's so interesting to see all of your guys just latch on. He's been here 7 years, so he's gone through, how many classes now, and, have graduated while he's been here. And every single guy seems to just latch on and be a part of what the Schmidt family is doing. And as you said, just giving back to the community, and that's another part of what it means to be a Buccaneer, is giving back, and that goes a lot further than the men's soccer program. But you guys do such a great job with the Schmidt family, and it's nice to see the alumni give back as well with their loud shirts and all.
Yes, and we'll have more and more loud shirts.
I'm a little jealous, if you can tell. I kind of want a couple of those, so we're gonna have to talk.
We'll come up with something special for you.
All right, perfect. We can do that.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you guys very much, Coach Perry, Musa. Thank you for joining us here for alumni and homecoming weekend and reunion weekend. And congratulations on being an alumni for 25 years and of the academy. You're still here, and you're still hanging out with this guy. So something's got to be bringing you back.
Absolutely.
It's probably this guy.
Has 100%
friendly face on campus. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. I'm Joe Malkin, and we hope you enjoyed our conversation with Musa and Coach Perry. And we'll talk to you next time.